Welcome to Bulletcast, a bullet catcher gaming podcast. In this episode, we'll be talking about the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Today's guests are regulars, and now your host, Andy from Bullet Catcher Gaming.
Thank you so much, Marcus, and thank you guys. A lot of regulars here tonight for the podcast where we're going to be talking about Modern Warfare 2. But quickly, before I start and get on to anything, I just want to apologize for not putting anything up for a while. I have actually got plenty of videos in the works. I had loads of issues at work, and then straight after that, I had my accounts hacked. So I had to sort all of that out. And then straight after sorting all of that out, I have had COVID again. So only literally just getting over that now. So there will be more content. I'm going to be doing live streams, things like that. So getting back on it as we go between now and Christmas. So thank you so much for your patience for that. Hopefully that won't happen again. So yeah, we thought we would, obviously we always concentrate on Ghost Recon primarily, but you can't ignore Modern Warfare 2. You just can't. And we thought we would talk about it. You know, will it have an effect on the Ghost Recon play account? Obviously with no new updates and no new news of a new game. Is it, you know, there's still a lot of people out there that play Ghost Recon. Are those people, is it going to make those numbers dwindle even more, especially with the inclusion of the third person mode? I think it could do. So we're going to discuss those things and some of the things that people have experienced on the beta that's been implemented very well by Call of Duty that perhaps Ubisoft could be looking at. We thought we would discuss in a comparison with Call of Duty and Ghost Recon. I'm not saying the two games should be the same because they shouldn't, but there's definitely things that I think they could learn from Call of Duty. 100%. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So J-Rock here is, he may not be able to hang around for too long. So I am going to just let J-Rock jump in first and just have his say because he's got stuff that he wants to get off of his mind. So J-Rock, just jump in and talk about some of those things that you were discussing beforehand.
So the biggest thing I will say is like my biggest concern, or I'll say it, like I'll divide it into two parts. Is that the one thing I want to see really added that I think Modern Warfare 2 surprised me really well with was the Gunsmith. It's no longer like you have one gun and you can make all these sorts of guns out of it. It's like you have a branching progression. It's like you can have for the M4, because that was the most widely used weapon in the beta, which is you can have it an assault rifle, you can have a LMG out of it, you can have a submachine gun, you can have a DMR, and you can have the classic M16, which I was skeptical about it at first because I kind of liked the Modern Warfare thing where you can make secret weapons. Like you can make an MP5-10, or you can make a Colt 9mm, or like any gun that you can create off of a platform. And I was skeptical at first. Then I played it and I really liked it because it felt like there's another gun to use and you could create further guns off of that. And not to mention there's like the ammo types and like the stuff like that. But I would have to say that Ubisoft should really take note of this because having playing Breakpoint for quite a lot recently because I've been bored. Having to go through like 90 different AR-15 like style rifles to get to the one I want is annoying when they should basically just have an entire system where it's like you have this base model, like, and you can make any kind of gun out of it. And then you could find attachments for it later down the line. Like I could find this sight here or this grip here or stuff like that. It would really clutter it, or like keep the clutter down because again, there's like 20-ish weapons that are based off the AR-15. And not to mention like different variations, like the HK416 is different than the M4, and then so on and so forth. The other thing I wanted to say was that I'm concerned because a lot of the streamers that I've seen have called certain tactics overpowered simply because they don't have the means of countering them yet. And I my biggest fear is that Activision will listen more to the pro players that get them reviews and have influence rather than the casual players on the ground, because what works, because I'll say it again, the squeakiest wheel gets the most grease. And one thing I've learned throughout my life is that if you complain hard enough, you'll get what you want. So that's my say, Andy.
Well, it didn't work with Ghost Recon. We complained and we didn't get what we wanted. Well, to a degree anyway. But no, you made some valid points there, to be fair. And there's loads of things that you could look at for just the basics of the game. You know, I think most of us, and I'm sure there's maybe some people listening to this who are not Call of Duty fans. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm very up and down on Call of Duty. The last few didn't interest me at all. Personally, I don't like some of the kind of wokeness that had been put into some of the previous games. I'm not interested in that whatsoever. That irritated me, if anything. But I did really enjoy it, obviously, Modern Warfare 2019. And one of the important things with that is the campaign, for example, which, you know, lots of people, sadly, I think in a way, because they did actually put a nice campaign together. I thought the story was decent and I thought it was grounded. It wasn't quite so much like other Call of Duties where the campaigns were all just giant cinematics. And, you know, what was the Call of Duty? Was it World War II where there was a ridiculous bit where the train blew up and you're laying on the floor and all these train...
Yeah, it was Call of Duty World War II.
I mean, it was just so, it was put together well. I'm not going to knock it, but just so over the top and so, you know, overly cinematic. I would prefer the more grounded feel, which I thought 2019, you know, delivered really well. And obviously we're getting a continuation of that story. So I'm hoping maybe across this, and I presume we're going to get a Modern Warfare 3, especially if this one's going to obviously sell like crazy. That they've already got the story developed over the 3 games. Now, obviously, Ghost Recon's an open world game, which means you put your story together slightly differently. I understand that. Well, we don't know if the new one's going to be an open world game, but I'm presuming possibly that it will be. Or at least some kind of open world elements, which, to be fair, the new Modern Warfare will have some of that in, you know, Warzone, and I think some of the cooperative modes have got a kind of openness to them. But I also think one of the things is as well, and it's really weird because I hadn't played Breakpoint for a few weeks, probably the longest I hadn't played it since it come out. And I put it in the other day and I don't know what it was, but suddenly the game felt old to me. And yes, it's a 3-year-old game, so it is old, but all of a sudden it's really started to kind of show some cracks for me especially with graphics. I thought, I don't know. It just didn't look the same. And especially when you're seeing some of these new titles now, I do think obviously a new Ghost Recon truly hope that it is built on a new engine. It's got to be, and not just a kind of revised version of the last one, which I know can do a really good job if it's done well. But I really don't think we're going to see a Ghost Recon for... I did think we would see one in 2023, but after seeing some of the stuff that's going on with Ubisoft at the moment, with Skull and Bones, after putting out that, you know, they put out that beta test, there was a lot of negativity on that beta test, and now they've dropped the game back to next year. I really do think that they are changing their stance and they will not release a game until it is in a fit state. So if we were getting one in 2023, I truly believe we won't get it till 2024 now. I don't think there's any chance we get it. And it's a long time to not have another Ghost Recon game, which is why I wanted to talk about Modern Warfare 2. The fact that they're supporting it for 2 years, the fact that we've got third person. Are people going to just get, you know, people that love that third person? There's not that many third person games out there. Not really. Not, especially not on console. There's not loads. Are people, you know, if they get into it and they enjoy the third person, are they going to go, do I need to go back to Ghost Recon? Or I don't know. I mean, what other points do you think Is anyone else here, looking forward to Modern Warfare 2, and why?
Yes.
Why are you looking forward to it?
I am.
I mean, I feel the answer to this question would be obvious to most Call of Duty fans here. The gang's back together again. What other reason do I need? The main four
Recognizable
are back
characters.
kicking ass and taking names in Mexico, Italy, the Middle East. That's my answer. The four boys are back. The
Well,
baddest men Britain has to offer, they're back. Well, in fiction aside from books.
Not only that, he got his M16.
That would be random, guy.
I mean,
I'm happy we have that for the record. That would be random, guy. But to answer your question, the squad is back. To answer your main question, the old boys are back song. If you want to make a little joke about that.
Before you go on any further, let me just stop you 1 second before you go on any further, because you've just brought up a really good point. Do you think that is a really good selling point, isn't it, for this game? The fact that you have recognizable characters, and the fact that those characters were done so well in the original Modern Warfare trilogy.
That's goddamn right.
Absolutely, it draws people back, and that's the thing for me. Going back to Ghost Recon again, that I felt, and we've discussed this before, that I felt really took me out a little bit of Breakpoint was, your main character that you're given in Wildlands, you're suddenly told, you're getting the same character again. And he doesn't feel anything like the character in the last game. So I think
Nomad does not feel the same.
No, he doesn't.
I was going to say about that is that, like, there's Ghost Recon Wildlands took place in 2019, and then Breakpoint took place 6 years later, like 2025. So it's like 6 years later. There's going to be some change, but it's like a completely different voice actor. And I have to agree, like going from Wildlands, which to be honest, I really didn't like the voice actor for Wildlands for Nomad because he sounded too much like a kid. In my opinion, I kind of like the voice actor for Nomad in this game. However, the voice acting was kind of meh. John Bernthal was the only solid voice actor until
and he just did Walker's voice. I mean, Frank Castle's voice, anyways. So
No, he did it with like a slight southern twang to it. But
true.
I'm also gonna say, because I'm excited for Modern Warfare 2. I'm excited for two reasons. I'm excited because I was 6 years old when the first MW2 came out, and I never really got a chance to play it because 6 years old giving a 6-year-old that mature game is not a good idea. However, it's everyone always talks about MW2 like it was the best thing that ever happened in gaming history, and looking back on it now as an adult, it seems like that was genuinely the golden time for COD. I'm also excited to see what they do with the characters because it's they've taken all the recognizable characters from the first Modern Warfare games, the original ones. You have Gaz, you have Price, Ghost, Soap, so on and so forth. But you added characters to the mix Alex, Farah, Hadir. And I'm interested to see
the new Mexican special forces guy whose name's
Alejandro.
Thank you.
It's also interesting what they're going to do with General Shepard because first off, they have the guy that was voicing Overlord in he's almost in literally every military movie. He's in Black Hawk Down. He's in almost all the Transformers. He's in Under Siege.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about Sam.
He's now.
You're talking about
Sam Hunt?
Sam Elliott, I think.
Yeah, him. He's in almost every Call of Duty.
It's not Sam Elliott. I know the guy you mean. When he was younger, he had a thick mop of ginger hair, and he's a bald guy now with shaved hair. Yeah, he was in Black Hawk Down, Transformers. Yeah, he was in all those. So he's always been a military guy. Yeah,
he was in Overlord.
Armageddon too.
He was also an Overlord. He's also not the movie Overlord. He was Overlord in MW2, and the announcer for the Rangers. But we know General Shepard now is probably going to be a turncoat, but it's weird now because it's he has no motivation for it. Remember at the end of MW2 where he says, "I lost 30,000 men in the blink of an eye," That hasn't happened, or it hasn't happened yet, I should say, because I wouldn't be surprised if that happens in the next game.
No, in Modern Warfare 2,
It's foreshadowing.
They
foreshadowing.
they had a atomic bomb blow up in that one.
Yeah.
That's right.
It wasn't
So
an
there's your
atomic bomb.
There's your 30,000 men.
It was an EMP type airburst weapon that.
No, it
that
was an
fell.
atomic bomb.
It
In
was a-
MW2.
No, it was the,
No, it
I
was
believe that
not.
was actually the first game.
Yeah, it was in
where
the
that
first
happened.
one.
It was the first one, and pretty sure it's
Oh,
one of the
yeah, it
missions
was.
where you were
Sorry.
the Marines.
Yeah, that hurt.
And
But still, there's your 30,000 men, because even if it might have been a Marines mission, the Army was somewhere, the Air Force was somewhere.
The Navy's, like, I think right before the explosion, they said the Navy SEALs, like SEAL Team 7, was working on it, and then it blew up as they were defusing it.
Right.
And then they later, because like that thing has been pointed out, because it's literally a plot point from every single Modern Warfare game, because it was in the first one and you practically lost the main character at that point. It was in the second one because General Shepard, that's his motivation for turning. And
The
then
mission,
we find
mission
out,
name was Awe and Shock.
oh, shock and awe. But then
Yeah,
we
yeah,
find out
that's right.
that Yuri and Makarov were the ones behind it, and like it's like kind of like I don't know what like an equivalent, but it's in there. General Shepard doesn't have that motivation yet. So is he going to be the traitor? Because to be honest, at this point, I actually think it's Ghost.
But see, the weird thing about it is what we're getting now is the prequel to that. So your motivation might be in there, somewhere between this game and the next, before they actually say, okay, now the original Modern Warfare 1 kicks in. But then they're gonna have to do like they did the Star Wars movies. The original Star Wars came out, which is the same with the Modern Warfare. Now they're doing the prequel, and then they're gonna have to do a back end story to it.
Isn't this just a reimagining? though?
I think this is more like remake. Sorry.
Yeah, it is a new story. I don't think it's before or after.
It's
just a
like
new
all
version.
those Spider-Man movies that were remaked.
Oh, like a reboot.
Yeah, rebirth.
I think it's more of a prequel.
This is pretty much the same story, but in a different timeline.
I think prequel, because at the end of the last Modern Warfare, the 2019 version, he said, well, what are you going to call them? And then he said 141. So it's like brand new. He's getting his team together. And this is the second phase of that.
So it's a prequel of a remake.
Yeah, I could say that.
My humble.
I thought they said in 2019 it was a reimagining. It's a new story using the same characters. But it
90%
wasn't,
sure that is true.
it wasn't
going with
sequel
the
or prequel.
already known storyline, which was liked and loved. So they can't change it too much. So they keep some of it and make some new shit.
As if it was like a reimagining, if it was like a retelling of the story.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. Exactly.
no, because Gaz and Griggs would have been dead at the end of the game. Soap would have been in the game from the start.
Right,
Well,
but,
maybe
but
something
this,
different
Russian-
now.
but this was getting, because remember when Ghost,
Maybe
whoa.
Ghost doesn't die.
yeah, remember he was in
Maybe.
the factory and it blew up. That's when he became,
Shot.
everybody had that
Shepard shot
speculation.
Ghost.
Yeah, in one of the originals, but in this one, he what was the guy who did the bomb for Farah, and he told her to get out.
Simon
He was
Riley.
there, he was
Alex.
Kyle.
Right,
Oh,
Right.
right. Yeah.
right. So
He's
he's
suspected
Alex,
that he's actually the Ghost.
right. So when Price was looking up for his team, he said, "Who's this guy?" He says, "He's good enough. He doesn't have a name." So
Yeah,
all
that's true. That's true. Good
all of
point.
2019's episode was basically Price and everybody else getting refamiliar with the characters. And I believe, like Wanderer said, now the boys are back. Now this is their first mission together from their start.
It's also going to be interesting because, like, in every single Modern Warfare game, Russia has been at some point the bad guy, and it's obviously no like joke, or it's like no shit. Like you turn on the TV, what do you see every day? It's Russia did this, Russia did that. And it makes me wonder: is Activision gonna like shy away from that, or are they going to like embrace it because it's like Russia's like always been their main bad guy?
I believe that they will embrace it because if you look at 2019, before the game came out, I think it was about a week before the game came out, there was quite a lot of media articles that were popping up about. Obviously, look at the we've discussed this before, but look at 6 days, and the first game got cancelled because of a lot of backlash and things like that. Now there was a load about a week before, and the stories were all very similar, and it was like, should this game, this is they're in the Middle East, most of it's set in the Middle East, it's this, it's that, and
it's based on the true story.
If you listen to their reaction, that when they did respond, they didn't care. They didn't care one bit. No, and I actually respected them for that. It's like, it's not real, it's art, and it should be, you should be allowed to make whatever story you want, as long as you're not deeply, going out of your way to offend people. You're not like, I mean, Christ, how many times has Adolf Hitler been put in games and things like that, and everyone despises him.
But he's dead.
But he was still a real person. I mean, these people are not even real people, and yet people are complaining about it.
Well, if you're speaking about the 6 days in, well, I don't know if I should say, yeah. Well, that's based on a real people, real,
Marines.
Communications with the locals and with Marines who were there. So it's almost like, too real for some people. So I understand why the backlash was so hard back in the days. Now they might be actually publishing the game. So
problem is a lot of the backlash was against. If you listen to the backlash, I don't mind when people look. Everyone should be entitled to their own opinion. The problem is these days is no one wants to listen to certain other opinions.
True.
And if you listen to the backlash, it didn't make sense. A lot of the backlash was literally like having a go at the soldiers who were there, soldiers who are under orders, soldiers who are, that's their career choice. They are under orders to be there, to go and do that. And they were getting a lot of the flack, and that's not right. I don't agree with that.
That's true. They were only telling their stories. Also, the locals who were there, who actually have some meetings with the Americans, with Taliban, and all that shit. They were in the middle of it. They have actually give some interviews and told their opinions how everything was. That's the game is what is based on. So
exactly.
I don't know the backlash game, because it was probably too fresh in the mind of those who fell in Fallujah. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, it was a hard fight.
Yeah, but I mean, anyway, J-Rock, you made a good point though. Is Russia going to be in there? If they were in there, have they had time to take them out? Probably. I doubt they would want to do that. I think if they're in there, they'll remain in there.
I got a theory about that, actually.
Go for it.
So everyone's been saying how we've heard nothing about Alex and Farah. I know how to English. Alex and Farah in the new game. There's been no news about what they're doing. Okay? Here's my theory. We last left off, for context, I don't touch online, so if this was addressed in the expansion passes, where SOAP is first introduced with the DLC for that with Price, I know nothing about that. So anyone listening to this pod or in the group, disregard that lore. We left off at the end of the campaign with Hadir ending up in a prison in Russia. My theory is that Alex, Farah, and a bunch of operators, whoever they may be, go into Russia to link up with Nikolai again, because why not? and go in to extract Hadir to an American prison for whatever reason. Whatever, maybe it's because Hassan is sending his own team to extract Hadir to strengthen the terrorist forces. Whatever the reason may be, they're sending to extract him. And maybe the turncoat actually is Hadir, because at the end of MW 2019, or near the end of it, when you extract Hadir from Russia, it's quite clear that he's a double agent for the USA, even though he has violated several laws of war with the USA, hence why Price took him in. He was getting intel for Price, even with the intention of killing Makarov in mind, for them to go after Makarov's chemical, not Makarov, Barkov's chemical factory. He was getting intel for Price. He was still working technically for the USA, even if only the whatever the Joint Task Force would be called, the CIA, I shall say. He was still working in CIA interest, even if the wrong way. So my thought is, or theory is, the turncoat will be Hadir, and he will turn on Farah and Alex when they're extracting him, and they'll have to fight their way out of Russia, getting in trouble for whatever Hadir does, leaving them in his wake. I think that's who the turncoat will be.
I mean,
Well,
I'm gonna say this, so this is gonna be like a contentious topic because it's Vanguard, and Vanguard has been like the black sheep of the franchise, even more than Ghost was.
Even more than Black Ops 4.
But okay, I didn't play Black Ops 4.
I liked Call of Duty Ghost.
I did
Yeah,
too, but it had problems.
Same
But
here.
as I was saying, so there's a thing where if you pre-ordered the game, you get like the skins for the weapons, you get skins for a price. So Farah's an operator in this game, and Ghost, so on and so forth. And you would also get to play it 2 weeks early, and you get the beta and stuff like that.
Mhm.
There's also a bonus thing if you pre-order, you get Al Assad as an operator in Warzone, and someone had taken the 3D render for Al Assad and remove the facial hair, and it's the exact match to Hadir. And also going back to the 2019 campaign, Farah said that her father called Hadir his little lion, translating that into Arabic, which is probably the most common language in the Middle East, because I also think that Urzikstan was modeled after Iraq. It translates to Al-Assad. And I think Khalid al-Assad translated into English means the immortal lion. So
You're saying
the Hadir is Al-Assad, yes.
it would stand to reason that Hadir being the turncoat would be a logical choice, because, to be honest, I have nothing against him as a character. He'd also probably be the safest choice out of the main crew, out of Alex, Farah, Ghost, Soap, Price, and Gaz. He'd probably be the safest choice to be the turncoat, in my opinion. I might be wrong.
Well, it's in the end, it is an Activision who's making the game, so the story can go haywire anytime.
I mean, another thing I want to
Can I just
bring
ask Wanderer a quick question? Wanderer, a minute ago, didn't you turn around and say that you think that, or was it J-Rock, that you think that Ghost might be the turncoat?
That was J-Rock.
I said that.
Oh, why do you think Ghost might be?
Because it's first off, is that I think with the novels, I think in the novels they showed an exact recreation of what happened with Vanguard. It's weird because it's Vanguard and Cold War and Modern Warfare can be mixed all together, and it doesn't make fucking sense anymore. I fucking can't wrap my head around it. But it shows that a almost one-for-one recreation of Ghost's death, but except Ghost does it to someone else. So, I mean, I don't know. It just feels off.
Well, I don't know if I speak clearly enough earlier, but I mean, this is a kind of new game, the new story. It's a reproduction of the old one, so you can't actually, think about what happened before this. in original games. This is the reboot. So you have to think like you have never played any MW games, and you're just born like in 2015, maybe, and you first time getting your controller or your fucking keyboard in front of you, and you start playing this game. This is a new story for you. You don't have to know anything. The same thing what happened to the Assassin's Creed Black Flag. It was a reborn game to make those who haven't played any Assassin's Creed games before. It was a good new start point. This is what I mean.
I get that idea. I mean, yes, like you said, if someone just picked the game up, because you're not going to be able to get a PlayStation 3 to play those games unless you currently have one. So, exactly. unless they remake them for whichever generation, yes, you are right.
Or
these are new.
And they tweak a story a little bit, make it look better, make it more realistic, because we, as an old fan, we have wanted that remake. We have loved to see that thing, that the story will be more realistic and not like gamey. That gaming that it was. It was good. Don't get me wrong.
Because I mean,
but now these days people want that realism. I mean, obviously, what's happening in the world and what you're looking in the TV screen is not enough for the youngers today. So you need to play with it.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean,
I don't fucking know.
I'll also go back to what I was saying, is that like as soon as they name dropped Shepard in the at the ending cutscene of Modern Warfare 2019, and when they showed him again, it's like everyone's going to be suspicious for this guy. They the part of the reason why Shepard is such a lasting villain is because his betrayal came out of nowhere.
Yes.
And it's like exactly now that the game is over 10 years old, and now that they're making a new one, and
just Google General Shepard and you get the fucking the pop-up video on YouTube. What was the betrayal? So it's not surprise for anyone. But now with the new game, maybe he's just clueless. He's like a normal general these days, clueless about anything.
Like going back to what he was saying, it's like that as soon as the words General Shepard are mentioned, you're automatically going to assume that he's going to shoot someone and betray you.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, oh, yeah, we see this coming. It's not going to work again. But if they have someone that they don't expect be the bad guy out of all of you, then that makes for a more interesting story.
Yeah. And I fucking bet this. Now that they announced the Shepard's name, he's not actually the bad guy.
Is it going to be a hated character? Yes, probably.
Yeah.
Is it going to be the main bad guy? Probably not.
No, he's just.
I doubt they would. I doubt they would do that again. I don't think so. Anyway.
I mean, it's
weird. I can put a bet on it. I can put a bet on it.
I tell you what I found interesting.
I'm that sure.
What I found interesting is when a couple of months ago, well, it felt like a couple of months ago, maybe it wasn't that long ago, when they showed one of the levels. They did a walkthrough, didn't they? One of the levels on the ship. The thing that really stood out for me when I was watching that was, once again, it always brings me back to Ghost Recon. But when you watch that video, if you watch the way the operators are moving and things like that, you can tell that they definitely had some decent military interaction regards to making the game. And I do think sometimes that really does show in Ghost Recon. We've covered this before about the Green Beret fella who was invited on, and we're not quite sure what
he was expert in surviving. So he knew a lot about gathering plants, surviving in the wild, and he was expert on that task.
Yeah,
he was
I think
not expert about gunfighting or anything. So
he must be. To
if you're a Green Beret,
he knows. He knows.
Well, you have all the
if you're a Green
special forces
Beret,
there, yeah, you know what you're doing. You know how to handle your gun, but you're specialized, right?
well,
You're
considering the fact
specialized
that
in a different
in the
task.
lore,
But did anyone else notice that? Did anyone else watch that?
No,
playthrough?
I mean,
Yeah,
I
know what you're on
noticed
about,
it.
Andy.
actually,
Go on,
there's
Sandy.
one
what
thing
was
I
that?
wanted to bring
Yeah,
up.
so-
Okay, go ahead, J-Rock. Sorry.
All right,
Go on,
Sandy, you
Sandy.
go first.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same as Andy. You know, you can see a massive difference, and even like the way the developers talked about how they changed the gunplay in the this new Modern Warfare, so that the weapon moves, and like a real weapon would. You know, they put a lot of time and effort into making sure that the mechanics of the weapons function like they would in real life. Yeah, and there's things like that compared to what we got in Breakpoint. You can really tell how much effort they're putting in this.
Yeah, and I don't think they've discussed. Well, nothing I've seen. I haven't heard them discuss who they've brought in to help, but they definitely have. Obviously, I think any game like this they bring
do you
in.
Do you think they've just went back to using T-Rex arms again? Because I know
Yeah, I
they
think they
used
did.
shotgun for the last one.
I think they may have. I mean, don't fix what ain't broken.
Yeah,
Absolutely, because they did a great job with 2019. I
Like-
thought even that the movement was good. And it does look like it's been improved upon as well, which obviously is a good thing. I mean, combat swimming and things like that is things, and ledge hanging, which they've all added into the game, which I know people said they wanted.
Repelling.
But this is another thing, and it brings me back. It just keeps bringing me back to Ghost Recon. Like some of the key things that we've been asking for again and again and again. I really do think if things like helicopter rappelling and being able to climb up rock faces and things like that, using ropes or some kind of rappelling, whatever. I think if they release a new game and they're not in there, I really think people are going to go. They don't listen to anything we say. Whereas, people do. I understand the criticisms for Call of Duty. I get it. I've played enough of them. I'm sure everyone here has played enough of them to understand which ones are good, which ones are not good, and why. I think everyone knows why. But I think also at the same point, there's been enough Ghost Recon games now that, I'm hoping that we're going to be listened to. This next Ghost Recon game for me is, I think for Ubisoft as well, it's make or break. If it fails, you'll never see another one ever again.
I will say one thing, though. There's one of the bigger differences with the Call of Duty franchise is that it's never the same studio that makes the next game. So it's never the same studio that makes it twice in a row. And that's why they can get away. They get a bit of leeway where, Modern Warfare 19 being amazing and Vanguard being absolute.
Yeah, because
terrible.
Do you remember when obviously Infinity Ward, when they finished the original Modern Warfare trilogy, and then they did Ghosts, and that one didn't go down so well, which, like I said earlier, I'm not quite sure why. I didn't really like the campaign, but I thought the game overall was decent. Obviously, I think the one they did after that was pretty. What was the one they did after that? Wasn't Infinite Warfare?
Advanced Warfare.
Black Ops.
Was it? No, they didn't do
Black
Black
Ops 3.
It was either Advanced Warfare or Infinite Warfare, one of those.
Oh, they were both
Infinite Warfare was the
Infinite Warfare
was the one that literally the only reason why people bought it is so they can get MW COD 4 remastered.
That's it. Yeah. So that one, for example, that was when Riot Infinity Ward are terrible. Now they're awful, and they just got so much hate for that game. I can remember, if I remember rightly, when they dropped the trailer, it was the fastest ever video on YouTube to 1 million downvotes. I'm sure I remember read that was the fastest ever. It was in under an hour. Yeah,
I didn't hate Infinity. I did not hate Advanced Warfare as much as no comment.
they've made some bad ones. Let's be honest. I didn't like Black Ops 4. I thought that game was appalling.
I stopped playing after Advanced Warfare because nothing interested me. It's all futuristic. The really one that got me back interested in it was the COD 4 remaster, because I never played that game. I was 4 at the time.
Can I just mention something? Go on, dude. Just finish and then I'll.
Also, I'm going back to the weapon reloading. I can before I joined the military, I had very little basic understanding of how I'll use the example of the AR-15, how that works. I knew enough to, it's like, okay, that's not correct, and like, but when I play Ghost Recon Breakpoint, because I use the M4 on 2 of my character slots, like that's not how you reload an M4. You have to like put in a new mag, because the M4's works so where like the bolt locks back to the rear after the last shot, and it stays there because of the bolt catch. You slap the bolt catch, the bolt goes forward, changes a new round, and you're putting more rounds down range. In Ghost Recon, they're pulling back on the charging handle, which isn't wrong. They're not even pulling it back correctly. In the bivouac scenes, if you have teammates, and I think it's Fury that's using the M4, that bolt is locked back to the rear, so that thing ain't even like ready to go. Like I think there's like a compilation on YouTube where it's like pointing out the things that Modern Warfare did wrong with the guns, and it's like minute details. It's minute details. It's nothing as egregious as Ghost Recon. Like I think Operator Drewski pointed that out in his video, and like speaking on that video, I watched that like a few nights ago when I was going to bed, and like it's hard to think like, damn, he's even 3 years after this game's released, the point still stands. It's gotten a lot better, but like stuff like that is still in the game, and it's like generic, like gunfire sounds, and like I think he also pointed out that the SCAR's reloaded like a AK, but even though it already also has a charging handle, or like not a charging handle, a bolt catch.
It's actually how I say this very hard to think how the game makers make their games. I mean, they should be realistic, the gun operating, everything like that, but not too milsim, you know, because you want some regular some gamers just some old shows camp game, play some games, but if they're not realistic enough, who the fuck's gonna play it? If it's too realistic, who the fuck's gonna play it?
Well, I think on Modern Warfare 2, what I found really interesting about this is that if you look at one of the areas in any shooting game at the moment, you have basically obviously third-person shooters, first-person shooters, and maybe you can. Some people might say like the tactical shooter genre is its own
and survival shooters.
And obviously kind of cooperative shooters that obviously things like the Division, even though you'd say third person, it's still a kind of co-op shooter overall.
Yeah.
And if you look at Modern Warfare 2, they have pretty much gone after everything on that list and tried to put it into one game. I mean, that's the thing that interests me the most, I think, that they've gone out. I mean, it sounds like there's going to be a lot of options for the cooperative shooter as well, which, I thought they did that quite well on 2019. I just wish there'd been more of it. Because the problem is with COD is by the time you get around to about April, the game's only been out 6 months, and you feel like they're going, okay, get ready for the next trailer for the new one. And you're like, well, I was actually enjoying this one. I'm not ready for a new one, which is why I'm so glad that this one's getting 2 years, because I think, well, actually, those like special operations that they did, they won't dry up after a few months.
Maybe they understand that they can't please everyone.
I think they realise that they've got a hit on their hand and they can keep selling things for this game for a long time. But
there's people like us. We like some tactical gameplay with some realism, but with a good story. And you want to
have fun. You want to have fun.
Yeah,
That's one of those we play to have fun, and sometimes you can play a game and you think
it doesn't mean that you have to be milsim. It means that you actually can have fun with the original story.
But a Ghost Recon game for me should be varied enough that you should be able to milsim it if you want to, and you should be able to play it as a casual if you want to. And they did add more options into the game to improve that. But for me, they're still off. But there's plenty more they can do to get that. And there's no reason why they can't capture a very large audience for a Ghost Recon game. But we did have Mad Mountain was in the audience. He was going to be actually in the podcast tonight, but he's he's got COVID. He didn't catch it from me because he's across the pond, but he has
COVID
got
by the
COVID.
wire.
Yeah, he's got it. So he was listening in a little while ago, and he keeps popping in and out. But he is not well man at the moment. But he obviously I've been talking to him quite a bit the last few weeks, and the times when I did play the beta, but not huge amounts because of work and then feeling ill. But he did play it a hell of a lot, and I played a lot of third person, and I watched a lot of his videos. But he chatted with Mike So rather than come on and tell him himself, Mike, you've got some feedback, haven't you, from some of the things that he was
Yes, I
talking
do.
about?
Well, from what he had shared with me, that after playing the third-person beta mode, that the motion is fluid and the mechanics alone in the multiplayer mode, just by visual, is very impressive. And I look forward to the third-person Spec Ops mode and how they build on that. I wanted to bring up what Ubisoft can take away from Activision and Infinity Ward's development on the third-person mechanics that can be implemented in the future of Ghost Recon games. Updated servers for one, graphic and the gunsmithing is exceptional in Modern Warfare 2, which Ubi can take better steps on improving the mechanics. And what kind of pressure Ubisoft would be under if the success on third-person mode in Modern Warfare 2. And he said that's it. But gunplay is outstanding in the Modern Warfare 2, something which Ubisoft could adopt.
Guns sound amazing as well. I will say that from when I played, the gun sounded really, really tight. Really
He
good.
sounded meaty.
From what I remember from playing Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2, when I got to the Spec Ops and everything, right, doing it, it was fun. It was great. But back then, the mechanics of the game was different than what it is now. The AI is not as smart back then as they are now. But from what I am gathering from Modern Warfare 2 is that they're implementing something new and different to the tactical shooter realm that we have yet to be seen. And that's kind of got my attention a little bit, because you can't really plan accordingly to the enemy if the enemy is changing every single time you face them. And that's what I'm kind of gathering, is that the AI is a little bit more unpredictable than what we are normally accustomed to.
So they are basically doing something that 6 Days in Fallujah developers are trying to do, that every time you die and go in another map, it changed. It's different.
Right. The pattern is different. It's
a random.
They're normally patrolling that. Exactly. It's more random. That's what I'm gathering.
That actually makes the game way more interesting.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, but see, once
at the same time, but the same thing that freaking Andy had brought up was that, this thing about the third person, whether or not they're going to include that option ability in the campaign and multiplayer. If that was the case, and it was a little bit more open world, than more so than Warzone even thought about being. I played Warzone. I played Call of Duty Cold War. I played freaking Vanguard. I played freaking just about damn near every freaking COD game except for the latest one, which is 2042, 2019, whatever the fuck it's called. I lost my interest when the motherfucker jumped out of the damn cockpit and freaking turned around and blew up another damn plane.
That's Battlefield. That's
Battlefield.
That's Battlefield. That's a whole different game.
I know, but I lost my interest.
Well, I
So if
can't
there's
say that
ever-
one
But if-
quad
I don't
was
think.
any
Let me
better.
finish. Let me finish, please.
Yeah, yeah.
If Activision, I've dealt with Activision for many of years. Okay, since freaking what, before 2000 or whatever.
2042.
They oh, man, they have a bad habit, and once if they get something good going, they will sit there and deliberately destroy it and turn completely away 360 degrees.
They
And
sound
I've
like
seen it
Disney.
happen. It sounds like
Yeah.
Disney, and it sounds like Ubisoft, but
Yep.
worse.
Oh,
Now,
You know what I
going,
mean? So
going-
y'all making speculations about freaking General Shepard and everything. I would not count all my freaking eggs in one basket of any kind of freaking theories you can come up with, because one, you're not the freaking creator of that game and what plans they have already going on. Because look what the hell happened with freaking Ghost Recon. You know, but freaking, but I will say about this is that everything that they have implemented in this game that I've heard so far and seen, I will say this, and I'll end my little discussion on it, is that they've taken more notice on their customers than what Ubisoft and anybody else has ever done, except for Rebellion from freaking Sniper Elite 5. Sniper Elite 5, Rebellion, they've done an exceptional job on that game, and they've actually listened to every single realm of their freaking customers and any kind of suggestions to improve on that game. I went back into that game and downloaded it again, and I've yet to see any kind of freaking recurring issues that I've seen the first time when I was playing on the Xbox One. So I'm thinking because the new generation consoles, it limits the glitches. So I thought until last night when I did a freaking stream on freaking Ghost Recon, I seen a total new glitch. Total new glitch I'd never even seen ever. And
What was it?
I ain't gonna spoil it. You're just gonna have to watch my stream from last night. It's down in the freaking video link.
but
I'm
okay,
freaking-
so
it is crazy.
So going off of the one thing that you did reference about the dying, I can't even remember the name because it was so long ago now. You dying and the world changes. But once, just like how they had the raid here in Breakpoint, once you figure out the pattern, then you'll know what path and which one island or world that you're going to be in.
Well, interesting that you bring that up because we're going to have a raid mode in Modern Warfare, aren't they? It's coming.
Isn't it like
after
a
the
stop?
first couple of months, but 2 or 3 months in, we're going to get something like that. Yeah, it's going to work similar to that, I believe.
But
Which is kind of like I don't think anyone would have ever had an issue with no one would have had an issue with a raid mode. I don't think in Ghost Recon had it been a kind of more realistic setting. I don't think it was the raid as such. I think it was the
drones.
It was the drones, and it was the and I also think the enemies were, well, there's a lot of bullet spongy enemies anyway in Ghost Recon. I think there was a little bit of that as well. I will say that in Modern Warfare 2, on the beta anyway, I thought that the time to kill, now, okay, admittedly, it was only multiplayer. I don't know if you can really count that, but the time to kill was very quick. And I know some people don't like that. I actually do like that. I prefer that when you actually aim and shoot and you know you hit them, they go down instantly. I prefer that. But obviously, I don't know what it's going to be like regards to the special ops modes. And I think there's another cooperative mode, and then there's the raid mode as well. No idea what the AI is going to be like in that. But it'd be interesting. Though actually, I think there was a multiplayer mode I played that had some AI in it, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And that they didn't seem any different to me, time to kill wise, than shooting other people. So I'm
Will there
hoping
be any crayons?
very funny.
To quickly go back to
The white ones taste
earlier
like shit.
subject of Dark Waters. There's one thing that I noticed that I don't know if anyone else here noticed in the gameplay of it or not, but there's a part of the level where I believe it's the first door you breach with Alejandro, where the operator kicks in the door and charges in, and before he charges in, there is an angle where you can see the bad guys in the room. Now, what I'm curious about is whether or not, much like in Clean House, if you replay it enough where you can save that operator or not. Because what I think is the fact that you cannot, and the operators include, or the creators include that as a reference, or maybe you can, and we'll be able to find that out when we play. I don't know if you know the part of the level I'm talking about or not.
Like the one thing I'll say about that, with Modern Warfare, like another thing I will say about I got a grip with Modern Warfare 2019 is that like the skins like that came out for the characters and like the Milsim skins that they had, they were amazing. They were perfectly fine. But another big concern I have is it's going to be like Modern Warfare where it's like, okay, it's realistic or so for like the first 3 seasons. Then once like season 5 hits, we go completely off the rails with the skins. Like we have anime skins now. We have like bright pink skins moving around because at that point it's no different than fucking Battlefield. It's like the Battlefield 5 where it was like
Well, those are just
like,
the old
cosmetic.
guys who are fed up with the war, so just deal with it.
So are you
I mean-
basically saying? Are you
The
basically saying?
old
you're
guys do
worried-
that kind of shit.
Are you basically saying that you're worried that they'll get a day basically what Rainbow Six has done, and just
Yeah,
start,
basically that.
they've got
like,
both
I'll
and
go
just
back to
start
Rainbow
throwing
Six.
everything to everybody?
I mean, I'm hoping they meet in the middle where if they do not real skins, they do it skins based off of operators in well-known movie and TV shows and other video games. But that's the farthest I'd ask they go. Keep it within a realistic realm, or say hypothetically, yes, Black Hawk Down is based off of real life people. But say, I sadly can't remember his name, the Delta operator that was with the main group through the entire movie, with I believe a M4. I don't think he used an
R15.
M15.
I think it was a
Thank
Car
you,
15 or a 7. I think it was a Colt 723. Now I think about it.
I mean,
that
I
guy
could.
in the game. Yeah, he's old as hell by now, but he's still a fictional character. Yet he's still somewhat realistic to the area he was in and recognizable. And
They
you
did
know.
do that skin in Cold War.
as a hypothetical example, I think that'd be a fun character to include, or something like that. If you want to go fictional, keep it realistic. Or if you're gonna go to the wall, go to the wall with some cool shit. Like do the fucking squad from the original Predator movie. If you're gonna go into
I'll
fantasy
only work
realm.
on making 80s themed. Like, for example, I'll give some examples of like
Hell
skins that would
yeah,
say,
it is.
like if for this is hypothetical and they would have to have big bucks for names. We also know how celebrity appearances in video games go because Ubisoft hasn't had really a great track record of them with Giancarlo Esposito in Far Cry 6 and John Bernthal and Ghost Recon. Is that like let's say they add Chris Pratt for the Terminalist. They have the skin that he had in the opening mission.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't love that because you can basically or they have a skin operator with a skin that's based off of that. I would literally be the most happiest person on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they have like a marine operator and they have, I don't know, like a frog outfit on or something like that.
Or
like if you're basing it off like
Let's just think that it's based on something real what happened, like a real pictures in the internet. Like I know there's a picture of the guy with I think it was 240. I can think about potatoes right now, but he was a sand outfit in Iraq or in Afghanistan. I don't know, and some crazy like that, but based on the real action guys that the pictures are in the internet, you know?
And then they did do that in Modern Warfare. Like D-Day was based off of the Green Beret that helped. What D-Day was the operator that, based off the operator that consulted with Ghost Recon Breakpoint. They added in Rudy Reyes from Generation Kill and First Recon fame. They added in Obi-Wan Nairobi or the Christian Craighead from. They have that one Bale skin that's a guy.
I'm the dumb one now.
They had.
Okay, man.
I didn't know that. I actually didn't know that.
They had a few like very realistic skins added into the game, They also had what Florence Goldberg, who was I think a Medal of Honor recipient, they had for the venerated thing. They have all these skins based off real operators. I hope they like completely keep it accurate, but at the same time, it's like there's a variation because it's the same thing over and over again. It gets boring and stale. I think the best way to describe it is I saw a post on Ghost Recon Breakpoint Fashion on Reddit where it was my modern combat outfits for different countries, and it's like every country is multicam, with the only exception being the patch on the plate carrier.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like if every operator is rocking multicam or at least some version of it, it's like going to be like, okay, this is not fun anymore because we all look the same.
In today's special forces, multicam is most used for some reason I don't know.
Yeah.
So fuck that.
I think that's why they think like the Marine Raiders, which primarily most of the photos that we see of them now.
But I can tell you one
like
thing:
of the old woodland camo.
Multicam will not work in a Finnish forest area.
Well, I would say like M81 woodland, like the most common camouflage pattern in the world. Like
MO5
is known
Finnish
for that.
camo, the best there is.
The Marsac
Let
camo
me
that
say it.
they used was like they got rid of it because it's like they can tell which special forces unit is coming after them because based off their camo. It's like the SEALs have their camo, Raiders have their camo. What Rangers, Green Berets, Delta all use the same camo. They basically
The funny thing is that based off the camos that you actually know who you're fighting with. But now that everybody using the same fucking camo, well, you see the problem. There's your problem.
Yeah.
But
I'm just gonna say
I think this was not the point of this podcast. So let's continue.
Yeah.
Andy, if you will.
No, I
Say
was listening to
something.
you guys. Go on, Wanderer. What was you going to say?
I was going to say another thing that I think will be quite interesting. I learned something new from some of my friends, ironically, about one of the trailers. So we heard the Hispanic lady talking, wearing plate carrier in a scene that looks like an interrogation room, and I thought she was gonna be the revealed head of the cartel stuff, and she was caught by Alejandro. You know, the lady that says terrorism is good for business as long as there's a war on terror. There will be no real war on drugs. I thought she was a captured cartel head. I was like, oh, she's the DEA or whatever the equivalent in Mexico is of dealing with drug trafficking. Unless they have a DEA. Point being, the equivalent in Mexico, she is of that as I took it. And logically, she and Alejandro work together.
Can you put a link on that on my DM? I'm gonna just watch it quickly.
It's the most recent trailer that was released. Yeah, I thought she was just a high-ranking.
Just DM it on me. I'll watch it and I comment after it.
All right, I got one question, and I know this will probably be a quick and simple answer from everyone. But do you plan on getting it?
I have pre-ordered.
Absolutely.
I've already pre-ordered it. I'm starting it on Thursday.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad they're giving us the campaign a week early because I do think sometimes the campaign gets pushed aside a little bit for obviously everyone wanting to jump into multiplayer. If anyone is interested as well and about getting or trying the third person mode, for some unknown reason, this is one thing I do think they've made a mistake with. I think they should have opened it at the beginning, but you have to reach, I think it's rank 19, I believe. And once you reach 19, you then unlock it. I'm not sure why they did that. They could have just had it open already.
It was like that even in the original. Pretty much, you had to get up to a certain freaking level before the Spec Ops even unlocked, and then you had to have certain things done through the first two missions, I believe it was, if I remember correctly. Once you did it and passed it, then another one will freaking pop up that you can do. But I don't know what they're doing on this one, pretty much, per se. I don't know if it's staying in the same type of way to unlock stuff. I have no idea. But because it was different missions in the Spec Ops itself. It wasn't just the Spec Ops. There was like once you went in there was like different ones, like evading the enemy. That was one of them. The other one was sharpshooter, where you're taking out key targets and stuff like that. And then there's another one where you're defending from overwhelming forces, and you're getting freaking over, which is my favorite one, anyways, because you're up there on a rooftop. And well, anyways, there's
Yeah, there's quite a few of them.
I just wish that I just wish that they had just included the Spec Ops along with getting the game period without having it unlocked. You know what I mean? We have to earn it. You know what I mean? You paid for the fucking goddamn thing. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead, Jay.
I don't even own the first one, the new remake. I just didn't have the money to buy it, and I just watch it through in the YouTube. I know what happens. So
operations were really good on Modern Warfare.
Yeah, they were really good.
Yeah, I'm still gonna buy it at some point, but I don't think that what is the game? What the hell was it called? Battle.net, right?
Yeah,
Bethesda's big fucking corporation. Yeah, they are not gonna drop the price even after the second one comes out. So I'm just gonna wait. I will buy at some point when I'm drunk and I have too much money to lose, which is years and years ahead of me.
I agree with you there, buddy. I'm the same dude, freaking. I'll wait until that damn thing goes down 50%.
Yeah, I'm not gonna fucking pay a 60 fucking euros to a fucking 2 years old game. Come on, man.
All right, we got J Rock who's been trying to get in.
How hyped it is. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, J Rock.
Not curse. No cursing. Is this that childproof?
Go ahead, Jay.
We try and keep it minimum cursing.
Okay.
We try.
Darn it.
Failed, but we try.
Darn it. I'm sorry. I'm like 3/4 of 10-year Talisker single malt whiskey bottle. So.
All right. Let's try and get J Rock in here before he forgets what he wants to say.
So like,
J Rock, go ahead, brother.
My biggest problem with like,
he just had too much Williams.
No, 2019 is that like, I've had the unfortunate experience of my hard drive kill itself, and all my games get deleted off, and I have to re-download them. And almost all of them weren't back perfectly, but Modern Warfare 2019 gave me the most trouble because it's like, oh, it gets to this point, and it has the like update loop.
Oh, God.
And it's like, oh, I have to go add like fucking 5 add-ons just to play the goddamn game. And it's going to be like this for...
That's infuriating.
It's like, also, I think
they've promised that it's going to be different. Like Warzone, for example, is going to be a completely separate download.
That's the problem is that half of these like giant updates are for Warzone, a game that I don't even play. Like I used to play before I shipped out, and like while I was on leave after boot camp, I played with my recruiter. That was it. Every weekend play with him as long as he was streaming that game. I don't play Warzone anymore, but I still have to, in order to play multiplayer and use everything that I paid for, I have to download a update for a game that I don't even want to play. At this point, I think it should be like a separate game.
That was originally what it was supposed to be. It was a free to play, but you had to you could play Warzone by itself and then have Modern Warfare 19 completely separate. But like you said, you have to have all of it to even play any part of it.
And like then most recently, like there was an update that like on PlayStation where it's like, okay, all the DLC you bought for any game has been wiped off. Like it still says you have a record of purchasing it, but like I was like halfway through Far Cry 4 playing it, and then all the content that I had downloaded that I had paid for, by the way, like $20, which, yeah, it isn't that big of a deal, but still, $20 is $20, so especially for me, because I only get paid like $700 for each paycheck. But that's besides the point. That, like, I paid for this, and it just got wiped off. And I don't have to spend the time to re-download all that stuff when I could be playing the game.
Right.
And I restarted the game naively, and I had to go like really like work my way back to where I was.
Yeah.
And then that happened, and I wanted to play. I'm like, I want to play Modern Warfare. I want to see what the store has to offer because I like to pay for the skins that are like realistic. And there's this one skin I'm hoping that comes back, but I don't think it's ever going to come back because of the conflict in Ukraine, because it's a Russian skin for an AK. And I had to download all the add-on packs again.
That used to happen to me on Rainbow Six.
And I got to the point where I'm
everything that I bought, I'd have to go back in. There'd be as soon as they did an update, I'd go back in and I'd have to. All my operators had gone back to standard, and it was all there, but I had to go and put all of my stuff back on. All my skins are, and every update it would do this to me. It drove me insane. And when
I'm talking like a game update, I'm talking like a PlayStation update.
I've never had that before, ever, or not with a PlayStation update.
No, there was a PlayStation update. I think it was like 10.00, and like it literally wiped off all my DLCs. And like I'm like thinking, oh shit, it's probably uniquely to me. But no, like I went to like the subreddit. I'm like, hey, like this happened to me. Has anyone else happened? Like, it happened to a lot of people. Because I had to do it with Far Cry 5 when I wanted to play. I had to do it with Far Cry 6, which I didn't really have that in DLC for that point. I bought it like later on. But
yeah,
like that shit was annoying.
I do have one. Yeah, I'm gonna let you finish up. Go ahead.
Like, it's like annoying when you have to spit, especially when the Wi-Fi here and like the barracks isn't that great because there's so many people using it. Like, and I really want to play this game, but I have to wait. And like I'm reinstalling Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I'm not Breakpoint Wildlands now because that was one of the games that got wiped off of the game thing. And that's literally the last game I have to like re-download. It's like I just checked it like a few minutes ago. I have like 9 hours left before I can play it.
Oh Jesus, 9 hours!
And it was up to like 24 like last time I checked. And every time I would put it on rest mode or I'd put it on, like, I would turn the game off altogether because that's worked for me. I've turned the game off, like, the PlayStation 4 off completely, and it's downloaded it. And by the time I wake up in the morning, I check my thing at lunch, it's downloaded. I'm like, sweet. That takes a lot of time off my thing. Yeah. But, yeah. If you want to go to the next point, Andy, like, I'm done. Rant over.
I do have one question for Andy. Now, very true. We all came to Bullet Catcher Gaming because of Ghost Recon. What is your future?
Well, definitely I'm going to be covering. Well, look, what I initially thought would happen is that when Breakpoint started to either wind down or kind of end, being in Delta Company, I thought, right, well, at least I've got to stay on top of where it's going. What I intended was I thought it would be similar to what happened before, where we started getting Breakpoint stuff almost immediately after the end of Wildlands. So, to make some speculation videos, to obviously make videos where we could, especially with Sandy and some others, about, trying to garner feedback and push forward with it to try and get those ideas through to Ubisoft. And then we would start seeing some of that come through. We'd start seeing some bits from the developers, some early trailers or whatever for a new game. And we'd just kick into a new game and then eventually we'd just keep going. And that was my plan. And obviously, judging by how Ubisoft are working at the moment, as I said earlier, I can't see us seeing one for at least a year. That's the minimum. I think it was more like 18 months. I think it will be about March, April 2024, I think, when we see a new Ghost Recon. But that's just my guess. That's not on any concrete information. That's just a guess. But So obviously, I want to fill time in between that, and now I've got all this other stuff out of the way. I want to start doing some live streams, so I do want to do some streams, obviously on Ghost Recon. Sandy and I have still got lots of videos to finish off regards to improving the game. But I am going to cover in depth 6 days in Fallujah for definite.
Nice.
That's the game that I think fits my play style. It's the game that I'm most interested in. I will be covering, I may cover Modern Warfare 2, especially if the third person thing gets expanded in other areas. I want to see what it's like. But, I'm not a Call of Duty YouTuber. I like Call of Duty, but I like the thing I like about Call of Duty is I like the casual side of it. And for me, if you're into a game casually, I don't think you can truly dedicate yourself to a game if you are a casual fan of it. I think there's nothing. I would rather go to other YouTubers who do it far better than me to get my Call of Duty information when I play it casually, as opposed to me do it. They do it better than me. They've been doing it longer than me. I'd rather leave it to them. That I'm not a Call of Duty YouTuber, and I never will be. I want to be a Ghost Recon YouTuber, but it's difficult when you got no Ghost Recon. So 6 days is probably the perfect game. And of course, the other game that I will definitely cover if they ever announce it, even though it's supposedly the game industry's worst kept secret, and that is SOCOM. SOCOM for me is still arguably one of the greatest games ever made.
What about 06, Andy? If that ever comes out, is it 06?
I think that game's dead. There's been nothing. They haven't even updated their website. I think it's dead. I think.
But if it came out,
we need that voice command.
If it did come out, though, Andy, because that's another one in the kind of a almost similar Ghost Recon genre for what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, if it was good, then I would play it. I mean, the problem is that, like, if you ever look at a game like Insurgency, and Insurgency obviously had been out. I remember seeing it first advertised on the PC, came out on the PC or whatever, and when it came out on console, I kind of thought, right, I'm going to give it another go. So I bought a console copy of it. Now, the gameplay, in terms of some of the mechanics, I really enjoy. I think it's a good game. I find it really hard to cut. Oh, we can hear a dog. Who's
Sorry,
got a dog?
that's fine.
All right, okay.
Simon, Fred, calm down.
Simon, dog name.
Fred,
looking
at you.
So yeah,
he's probably a good boy.
What I found interesting about it is that obviously the game wasn't. It was pretty obvious that the game wasn't made for console. It was made for PC, and then they just had to kind of work on it for ages to try and get it onto console. When it came out, I thought, okay, this looks like a game that was made about 7 years ago. Graphically, it's poor, really poor. But it is good fun. It is a good game, but I still think it's lacking in a lot of areas. I mean, so I don't want a game like 06 to I don't want another what I call fairly poor port. Just come over to console, because I do like playing on console. I like the ease of it. And no, I'm not interested in any kind of console wars or anything like that, or PC Master Race or anything like that. I've played
all of them have their benefits. That's all I'm going to say.
They all do the same thing.
Yeah, they all do the same thing slightly differently, and they've all got good games. So I'm just not interested in any of that stuff. I don't think.
I'm jealous of console players because they have.
There's one thing I've never understood, and that's and it's more to do with Sony and Xbox than anything else. Is that over the years I've seen one say to the other, I hope your lot go out of business, and I just think, no, that's the worst thing that could ever happen. And you'd be like, can you imagine if let's say Xbox went out of business or they stopped tomorrow?
Oh, God.
Do you think that would make Sony go, right, we need to strive to make better games?
Nope.
No.
You just eliminated the competition.
The same as if Sony went tomorrow, we're packing up, we're not doing this anymore. Do you think Xbox will start going, we need to buy more
Sony and
studios,
Microsoft
we need to
play
make more
way more
games,
nicely
we need to
than
do
the
this,
Russians and
we need to do
Ukrainians.
that? You know, are they going to carry on doing that? No, they're going to take their foot off the gas. And so you need competition. And I think that's where you get great games from. And I also like the fact that some of these companies of late, in the last few years, have been proven wrong. I think EA. This is completely off topic, but you know, when EA came out and to come out as a company and say, you know, single player games are dead, no one plays them. And then you get within, I think, 12 months, you got the Star Wars game from them, which they released after. You got God of War. God of War had no DLC, and just all the game was right there. You paid for it, and you got the game, and it was one of the highest scoring games that year, if not the highest scoring game that year. And
I'll give another example of that, Andy. Like Red Dead Redemption 2. Like I've played that game a total of like 4 times.
Don't talk about the RDR2. Come on, man. That hurts my soul.
But like, you have a game that's like, when you can get the campaign, someone like me to play a campaign, where it has a very short attention span, to replay a campaign over and over again. Like, I think it's probably one of like the best games. It's a testament to that. Like Red Dead has probably been the best story-driven game. Like I haven't played God of War. I've never played any of them. I was an Xbox player for most of my life.
I'm sorry, J-Rod, but
let's not talk over each other. Let's not talk over each other.
Yeah. This is a discussion for another session. I mean, Rockstar Games. Come on. So, well, Andy, I'm happy to have finally speak with you. So I'm just gonna click out and maybe we see another voice chat in a podcast.
Okay, cheers, bud.
Cheers, Matt.
But like I was saying, like that Red Dead 2 was probably been the best story-driven game in my opinion to come out of like the last decade, and that's we're coming up against the likes of like Fallout New Vegas. God of War. I've heard really good things about the God of War that came out right around the same time. Stuff like that, and it's
I want to ask you a final question before we finish, and I'm interested to get everyone's point on this one. And I raised it earlier, but we didn't really kind of talk about it that much. Do you think? Let's stick to Ghost Recon for a second and this game. So, if this game puts out all modes in third person, so you can play the raid, multiplayer, you can do all of the modes, special ops, everything in third person, and obviously we know certain parts of it are going to have a kind of open worldness to it, but obviously some are going to be more linear. But with the changeability that we were talking about earlier, do you think the current Ghost Recon crowd who will still continue to play this game and the people that still stream this game, like many of you here, do you think there's enough to pull you away from your regular Ghost Recon playing and thinking, do you know what? It's time to maybe knock it on the head. Can it pull you away? Because I do think after I tried the third person mode, I do think to myself, if this is available on every single mode, I could definitely see myself not going back to Breakpoint for a good while. What do you guys think on that?
Me, honestly, I'll still be a diehard Ghost Recon fan.
I think it'll fill a void.
Regardless.
I think it'll fill a void. Sorry.
The reason why it is many. One, I like the Tom Clancy franchise. Okay. Secondly, I met hellacious, outstanding people from playing freaking Ghost Recon from that community, to include the late Jeremy. I'll never forget. You know what I mean? So he passed the torch on to me to continue on with his rules and everything, and I'll be damned if I'm going to leave to go to another damn game. Especially, I really do not like Modern Warfare or the Call of Duty franchises. Even though I played a bunch of them, but I really do not spend a whole lot of time in those games. Never have. That's my final
good
answer.
point. No, it's a fair
Yeah.
point. And like I said, I don't think I'm not going to play Modern Warfare 2 and then think to myself, it's not going to make me dislike Ghost Recon. I love Ghost Recon. I adore Ghost Recon. I'm just frustrated that we haven't got a new one to play, or doesn't look like
Yeah.
one is coming
I think-
anytime soon.
As I said, I think it'll fill a void for a while. You know, until we get whatever the next game is. But I think the true Ghost Recon fans will always come back to Ghost Recon.
And what do you think it is that makes them come back? Do you think it's the open worldness or not?
I just think traditionally it's just been everything that Call of Duty wasn't it? I think Call of Duty it's always just got to be that linear storyline that once you've played it a couple of times, nothing changes and it gets boring quick. Whereas with the last two Ghost Recon games, there was look at like Jeremy's rules and stuff. There's always different ways to play it. I think that uniqueness and that modularity adds to its kind of appeal. And not everybody's into multiplayer, battle royales, and some people just want to sit there, and I think Ghost Recon gives you that.
Oh no,
Gives
I agree. A lot of people are put off by games being too multiplayer centric, and actually that's why I raised that point earlier. I think they have looked at it and gone, we can try and cater for more groups here, like the cooperative gameplay. It's the stuff I'm looking forward to the most.
As
I worry though. I do worry that if they're making it for everybody, eventually it's going to please nobody. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, I've been holding my tongue on this because I've spoken quite a lot throughout this podcast. But like, I haven't really played a lot of Ghost Recon games because, again, I'm probably the youngest out of all of you here, and that stuff never really interested me. It's always COD or like more so Battlefield. Back when Battlefield was actually decent, like Battlefield 3, Battlefield Bad Company 2, and Battlefield 4 always hold a special place in my heart, especially Bad Company 2. That was my first FPS. And that stuff really never interested me because it's like big open multiplayer maps, a good story, and stuff like that. But like the thing that what I think is good for Ghost Recon, especially with like Wildlands and Breakpoint, is that you can basically make your character into anything. Like you can make your character any unit and from any country, from using any weapon that you want. Like some of the weapons that we saw in Wildlands were never in any of the Call of Duties. It's because of their popularity in that game that they got brought over. And it also gave like a fresh perspective because it's like, oh, like it's not like you beat the bad guy game over. It's like, especially with Wildlands. Wildlands was like you take it down, like it's like a systematic takedown of like your enemy. It's like you don't go straight for the guy at the top. You have to go through their like mini boss, then this under boss, then the boss, and that rinse and repeat. That's interesting, and not to mention it's like very terrain and stuff like that. Like I don't have to if I wanted to play a snow mission, I don't have to go to like go through the campaign list and go to find a snow mission. I can go to a different region of the map and still go back to whatever I want to do. That's where I think Ghost Recon outshined it because like I still love Breakpoint. I still got a lot to do in Breakpoint. I just finished up the conquest mode for one of my characters just recently because I've been behind the curve because it stopped interesting me at this point, and like not to mention there was 3 months where I was out of action because boot camp. But I'll still continue to play it. It's just that like Breakpoint and let's just say Ubisoft as a whole, like hopefully Modern Warfare 2 is a kick in the balls for them to wake up and say, hey, we've been doing it wrong. This is how we should do it from now on. I think Sandy mentioned that like they're going to make their Sandy, what did you say again? Because I'm
So,
kind of
I
fuzzy on the
posted-
details.
I posted it on the group, but they had put a post, and it was initially, I think, that it came up during they were talking about Assassin's Creed, and one of the things that they'd said now was that they realised that trying to make other games too similar had failed for them, and that they were now they were going to start focusing more on individual IPs and keeping that uniqueness, and going back to effectively trying to keep games individual as opposed to just trying to merge everything into one big game. Like everything
That's what
became
I
too
mean.
similar.
But also, I take it as well, not only on that level that you're saying, Sandy, but also that they're thinking of all of the incoming messages and improves, dislikes from so many freaking people and so many groups that they were trying to please everyone and they couldn't.
Please, Ned.
You know what I mean? So now they're going back down to what define Ghost Recon. Is it to please everyone and cater everyone, or is it to cater the core of what it is?
All right.
That's what I'm thinking that
Wait. Hang on, guys. We haven't heard everybody yet, and we're going backwards already.
Yes.
Timberwolf, you're next.
So I, as a recent convert to Ghost Recon, ironically, Wildlands is my first game. I joined it at the very beginning. It was a hot mess, and then I left it. And then I decided to try it again with Breakpoint, and then doubled back to Wildlands. And to answer this question, I will stay with Ghost Recon, but if I had to choose, if I had to say also what brought me back, much like what previous people have said, it is the open worldness of the game. It is the fact that within certain confines, whatever term you want to use, how you want to play the game is up to you and your character. What operator you want to be is up to you and your character. I stick within USA because that's who the ghosts are. That might just be me. That's where I like to stay when I'm doing main campaign. Barring the camos and all that, because that's freedom of choice. But I ironically recently started a new character on Breakpoint, and my main plan was just to play episode 1 through 3 and all of the event missions, 100% completion of all that campaign stuff, and maybe do conquest with this new character. I'm still Nomad. I'm still doing that just because that's who you are in the lore of the game. But what brought me back to Breakpoint and Wildlands is, the open world choices of the order of how you want to tackle this stuff, and the fact that the map is truly at your fingertips, and where you go is up to you. There's some exceptions there because the game's not omnipotent. It can't predict everything we want. But out of an open world experience, minus the desert biome, Breakpoint did a pretty good job. And no, I will not let that go.
They added what? One of desert camos into the game, but nowhere to use them at.
You had one beach.
You used it on the beach.
One
beach. Other than that,
that was it.
One.
Yeah.
I think I also mentioned.
All right, going off of the main question, for me, outside of not knowing, one, we already know the price of it. It's about $70. The size of it is what's going to really limit me, because I even looked at the beta and that was 25 gig. So when I took off Modern Warfare 19, I was able to put 20 games on my machine. So that is a key component for me right there. If I do buy it, I'm going to have to buy a hard drive just for that, because I know it's going to be big enough. I mean, if the beta is 25 gig, what's the rest of the game going to be?
I reckon you're looking at, I think if I remember rightly, 2019, with all the Warzone updates, the Special Ops updates, everything all done and updated, because they better not do that again. That Special Ops needed its own updates, multiplayer needed own updates. That drove me crazy. It really did irritate me. But if you're looking at, I think it was about 224 was its highest.
It was 300 gig.
Really? Oh, okay.
I took it off. I took it off, and I was, like I said, was able to put 20 more games on because of one game.
Most of that's going to be Warzone. So I think now they're doing Warzone and the main game separate. I reckon that you're going to be looking at about a 130 for the main game and multiplayer, and then Warzone will be totally separate. Because you think the Warzone had the bigger map and all
right. But as far as me going, between Call of Duty and Ghost Recon, I love both of them. I have a gap between a lot of the Call of Duty because, one, they went to the futuristic BS that I don't like. Where you can walk on the walls, walk on ceilings, fly. You can't do that in real life. Some of the Black Ops were kind of fictitious to me. It didn't make sense, but it's still a fun game. I like the boots on the ground type. The Modern Warfare kept that on the ground for me, and then that was fun. As far as Ghost Recon, I can't remember the exact first one I started out with, but SOCOM is my love right there. If it comes back, I'm going to it. Whatever game I'm playing, they announce SOCOM, I bet you 100,000 people will just drop their game right then and go pre-order it right there. You could be.
The thing we're not mentioning right now is that, like you said, Andy, that the time frame you're expecting a new Ghost Recon game is like 2024. Like,
that's my.
I'm gonna bring up that. Like, that's your guess, but let's say we're going off of that. Like, we're rapidly approaching the thing where it's like the old gen, like PS4, Xbox One, and Xbox One S, and something like that. They're starting to get phased out. The problem what I'm gonna foresee is that, like, let's say there's still a supply chain issue and not everyone can get like a PS5 or an Xbox. I mean, I'm not even going to say an Xbox. Xboxes you can get anywhere, but like a PS5. There's a PX that opened on base that had like 10 PS5s. They like sold out within like between like 2 hours of all of them. They were selling them at like, I think, 500 a pop. And considering that it's probably going to be a very risky idea to release a Ghost Recon game, it's probably going to have a lot of the additions that we suggest, and that's probably going to be a very big game data-wise. You're going to alienate half of your fan base because PlayStation, you can hardly find a PS5, and if you can, they're an arm and a leg. Now, I love video games. I'm not spending $500 for a PlayStation 5. I'm going to wait till that's at least like half the price.
And of course, they're never going to drop the price whilst they're in such high demand. Never. They have no reason to. Yeah.
And
to jump in quickly on that, I thought when we're talking about release dates, pushing the release date wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. I mean, what we had was it minimum 5 years between Future Soldier and Wildlands?
In and around, I believe, 4.
Yeah. So, if they do push it back, that means they can focus more on solely for next gen, getting the servers right, rebooting the servers, hopefully doing it on a new game engine, and we'll not have another hot mess like Breakpoint was.
Yeah, I think we'll all agree. Anyone who plays Ghost Recon casually or Milsim, whatever, will all agree on one thing. What we don't need is another Ghost Recon released where it comes out and it's broken. Half of it doesn't work. The roadmap
you need a year
they
just to
give
get
us
the game to work.
Make it if it was due out in 6 months' time, I'd actually let's say they announced tomorrow that it was coming out in 6 months. That would actually worry me a little bit.
I wouldn't even buy it.
Yeah, I think, hang on, that's way too fast. That doesn't seem right to me. 2020, if it's 2024, that sounds to me. If going by the information that we heard, that they had currently been in development on the new one for about 12 to 18 months, we think that's not very long for a game that needs to be built from scratch. And I think 2024 sounds about accurate to me. I think if we hear it
I'm
coming out next
taking
year, I
2025.
won't be surprised if it comes out
I'd
next
say
year.
2025 because
Maybe
like,
even 2025, but
because like with the new COD scheduling and stuff like that, it used to be a COD game every single year, and that's the problem that Ghost Recon had is that they released it right before
God,
Modern
19.
Warfare came out.
Yep.
The new Modern Warfare came out, and that was like suicide. Like
Yeah.
you can't release a buggy game by like a military or what would you a tactical shooter that's buggy, has all these problems, and that is everyone's angry about it.
Well, it was even
Then
worse.
what-
It was even worse. They gave you 3 weeks to decide, do you want to keep it or not, because Call of Duty was coming out in 3 weeks.
Yeah, then COD released, and then you saw like a massive drop in players, and like what? Nothing improved, and they had to like redesign the story because like no one was playing it. Then the pandemic came in, that made it harder for them to like do anything.
Yeah.
And they had to
Well,
like work through that.
That was a debatable subject because if you looked at Call of
That was
Duty
an
at the same time,
excuse.
if you look at Call of Duty, they were still putting out fucking updates every other week, and
At least
they were regular-
at least every 8 weeks for them, because
Yeah.
don't they
and they were
don't it
updating the
take them
patch regularly.
don't when they go through the prestige level of 100, doesn't it take about 8 weeks before they go through and say, okay, we're coming out with a new session or a new update? That gives you 2 months to play the current mission, the current setup.
that's a really good point. And it goes into why I don't want to see it too quickly. Because when we do get the game, I want to see the things that we've been talking about in there, but I also want to make sure that they have enough time to be making content ready for future content.
Yeah.
You know, we need to make sure that it's not. We don't want the game to be released and they haven't started any of it. We don't want the game to be released and they've got nothing to give us for the first 6 months. You know, we
For
want to make
example.
sure that they've got plenty of new weapons and things like that. DLCs already in the pipeline that they're already working on, which to me,
Ideally complete.
you're
like
going to need the first probably 1 or 2 already done, ready
Yeah.
to go. Because you want to keep. If you drop a game in September, you really want to start hitting your DLC really by about November. Before Christmas, you want to have something new out. And if you want new weapons and stuff, I mean, that's my biggest issue with one of my biggest issues with Breakpoint was, you had all these people crying out for cosmetics and guns, and yet they hardly put anything in the shop. The shop
stuff they did
was
put in for a while was terrible.
it was rubbish, and it's like they could have actually made really good money off of that if they'd have just had. I'm not being funny, but it would have only taken a couple of people to keep designing new stuff. It really did irritate me, but anyway, that it is what it is. We've been going on for quite a long time now. The dog's getting restless.
But like
I'll say something real quick.
Sorry about that, gentlemen. I got a new puppy, and him and the older dog are not getting along too good.
But the point that I was trying to make is that like what they aren't projecting the next COD to be until 2024, and it's going to have 2 years of support, then it's going to release 2026, and so on and so forth. This is the perfect opportunity for Ghost Recon to get in a game that is well designed, well put through, like bug tested, and not released at a time where like the juggernauts are going to be like crush them, because like the gas is their Activision and any of their studios is letting off the gas a little bit, because I saw what happened with Vanguard. Vanguard was a truly awful game, and it's one that I like refuse to play. Like I touched the multiplayer once and I refused to play it. It's that bad. And for your Call of Duty to be that bad, like
what I
this
said
time-
was, at the beginning is true as well. You started to see, and you hadn't seen it too much in Call of Duty with Vanguard. You started to see some weird, wokey stuff starting to come in.
No, but if a game is that bad, that Call of Duty has to change a schedule that they've been known for. It's that bad.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Activision Ubisoft would be fools not to take advantage of that.
Yeah, if they could get a game out that was in, if they're going to do it every 2 years now, then getting a game out in the middle there would be perfect in that middle year.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they
So
want to aim for.
2025.
Yeah, so 2025 and on, or if it is 2024, put it out. You know, and it was March
in the spring.
2024.
Don't-
Yeah, in the
don't
spring,
put-
like Wildlands.
Call of Duty has the winter, the late fall winter locked down. I mean, nobody can get in there. You already know.
Only Battlefield.
You already
get in
know.
there.
You already know that in 2026, in the fall, Call of Duty's got a game coming out. Okay, dog. But
I think he's saying time to
Cut it,
wrap.
Fred.
yeah, he is. But you already know if Call of Duty is still going strong in the next 10 years, the game is going to come out in the fall, and they've hit that mark every year that they've done it. Now, if you want to be able to put a new game out, you need to hit the spring, so you get 6 months of loyalty, then Call of Duty comes out.
Yeah.
Can I say something real quick? Freaking, at least Ubisoft didn't do as bad as freaking 343 did with freaking Halo Infinite. Just saying.
Halo's-
Yeah,
I mean, the-
Promising a
very true.
freaking co-op campaign, and they freaking they failed to even show that. It's
To,
not even out.
To answer the
The-
earlier question, I answered about why I keep coming back to Ghost Recon. I will keep coming back to COD because both Black Ops and Modern Warfare, these characters were my video game FPS childhood. I grew up with Price, Soap, Gaz, Roach,
Ghost.
the dude who dies at the dude who dies at one of the missions MW2, Yuri, etc. Going over to Black Ops, Alex
Woods.
or Alex Mason, Woods, thinking Mr. Sunglasses is what it's called him. God damn it,
Adler.
Hudson. Hudson,
Okay.
Weaver.
Yeah.
The reason I keep coming back to those games is because the characters I grew up with, and I like the plots in their take on the real world, with heavy exceptions for Black Ops 2 and onwards, but those should be obvious.
fair enough. Well, there you have it. Thank you, gentlemen, for jumping on. I do appreciate it. It's been a bit of a mixed one tonight. We've discussed a bit of everything tonight, really, almost. But we'll be doing some live streams of Modern Warfare 2, probably some of the Spec Ops stuff. We'll play a little bit of it on the channel for definite. And obviously, there's going to be more Ghost Recon stuff coming. And check out some of the live streams, some of the guys that are on here tonight. Iron Mike always does an excellent live stream. If you want to jump on over to Twitch, and obviously 8up always doing some excellent live streams. Mad Mountain with some really awesome live streams. If you want to go and some people, if you want to see some classic, Ghost Recon and some of Jeremy's rules being played. If you remember, some of Jeremy's stuff. Please, go and check those guys out. They're all on the Discord, and their links can be found very easily. I can also put them in the description below. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Really do appreciate it. And
It was good to be back.
We will make sure. Yeah, we'll make sure the next podcast is not that far away. And 6 days in Fallujah obviously is due not that far away now. So
If it gets late again, I'm gonna post one.
Well, let's hope not. So I'd like to do a podcast on that as well, but we'll have more before then anyway. And obviously, if any new Ghost Recon news comes out, we will be covering it. So, Marcus, thank you so much. Do you want to take us out?
All right. Well, this has been another Bullet Catcher Gaming podcast. Join us next time for another exciting episode. Join us in the Discord. The information is in the description. Comment, like, and subscribe. Signing off.